All right, T. You were the one in our group that broke the news that from Casey Johnson, because of course you record the podcast with him, Jason Goff, Kendall Gill, so on and so forth, Mad Dog. You broke the news to us in our group that they were going to take Patrick Williams. So when you first heard that, what was your initial thought when you heard that the Bulls were going to choose Patrick Williams from Florida State at the fourth pick with the fourth pick?
Who?
You put some respect on Supreme Dream's name.
But yeah, no, that from all the research that was, done, and then different mocks that was out there, he was certainly not in the realm of possibility, leading up to, this week. It was only, the last maybe Friday or like this week or so.
Yeah, I seen him in Athletic.
Yeah, Patrick's name started to being float around in connection with the Bulls. So that was like, an emergency. I remember our organization, NBC, when KC told us before he went to print with it, we had no video, no artwork or anything that led up to Patrick Williams. I mean, there was literally pieces and breakdowns done on so many different players, and he was not one of them. So it was certainly surprising when we first heard the news about Patrick.
Hey, real quick, who does that? Because because you know me, like I talked to you, I think Tuesday night. Mm-hmm. When I do my deep dives, I start, and it's funny because I realize how much I love sports. I start trying to consume everything, and I was sitting there, and you kind of get tired of seeing the same highlights. But the package that ran on NBC Chicago last night during the draft recap, I love whoever edited showing the different angles of the same play because there's so few plays out there. I was like, that's the same play again right there, right? And I know that it's been done before, but who can you tell us who does that? Because I want to give them their props because they did a real good job of stretching that material that they had on Patrick Williams and FSU.
Yeah, that's our video crew, Brad Fossler, and everybody back at the studio, the ranch. I haven't been back, so I don't know. What goes on at the studio anymore. I've been since March, but we got a real solid team, and they got prepared as soon as we got the hint that Patrick could be it. So we have to scroll through YouTube and television to see where those highlights were.
I was looking. I think you hit it. I think I was pretty sure I was reading Athletic, and friend of the show, definitely him. You booked him for us back in the days. Darnell Mayberry was sitting there, and they did their mocks for the draft, or they may have just been doing the Bulls pick. I can't remember, but I remember someone mentioned Patrick Williams, and I was like, wait, they're talking about in the second round, right? Because I'm like, I ain't heard of this name right here, right? And that was the first time I remember seeing it until you told us that KC, and basically if it's from KC, it's from the word of mouth that's what's going to be the pick. Like, it was no reason to think after you said the night before that if that was going to be the pick, that someone else was going to be the pick. So after you did a little scouting, Tony, what was your thoughts on Patrick Williams?
A very mature player. And when I thought about it too much, I'm like, man, this is a kind of a, you can picture John and Gar picking this dude in terms of high floor type guys and not really high ceiling. But after hearing what, Artur said about him, he certainly believes that Patrick has a high ceiling.
Yeah.
As a player, a real high ceiling. But if you look at him for face value, you may think of him as a high floor guy. So it depends on where you're starting to look from, because there are pieces for both arguments where there's certainly arguments on both sides of, high floor, low ceiling guy, and the other way around. It depends on how you look at it. And certainly Artur is looking at it from, he can be a profound player at this level with his skill set. He already has, elite athletic ability, run, jump, all those things that, you typically want from a top 5 guy to compete physically at the next level. But the next is, where's his room for improved skill level? He won an award, ACC 6th man, of the year, but you take a guy number 4 overall, you don't plan for him to,
play 6th man for you.
Right, to be sixth man for you. You expect him to be a contributor, a starter, and this is even more than Kobe White. Like, I know it's only 3 slots, above, but being a top 5 pick means something, in the NBA, and that comes with a lot of expectations. So if AK decides to go with, Patrick Williams, he's obviously seeing a bright future for him.
Now, being a top 5 pick in the NBA in a draft that doesn't have, that's not heavy on the top, does that really mean the same compared to, if I don't even want to include last year's draft because it was really a 2-person draft in Zion and Ja. But let's just say like a draft where it's one of those drafts where the draft the year before where you had DeAndre Ayton, you had Luka Doncic, you had Bagley, even though he hasn't really hit the way that you hit, and you would think he hit, and you had Trae Young. Like, see, now, if we're talking about that draft, I agree with you. The 5th pick in that draft, you better be something. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know if I can say that the same as this draft, because this draft wasn't even last year's draft when it was only 2 players. Me, and I told you this Tuesday night, I think, listen, I didn't read what Arturas Karnisovas said, and I read it in the Tribune from Collier had printed it, and he's talking about his perception of him and that people thought he was a raw athlete and that he wasn't skilled. And he said that he thought his skill level was high. This is before, I didn't see this before I started watching the video. Me watching the video, my first thoughts were, damn, this kid's thighs are thick. How quick and quick twitchy can he be with those thighs, those Bryant Russell thighs? And I may be a little bit before your time, all right, but just see Mike moving him to the side with his left hand. Look at the thighs the next time you see that. All right, they're very thick tuchus. So, and then sitting there still watching the highlights. First thing I was like, oh, okay, Shorty can handle the ball. Now, it wasn't like he was out there with like the ball on the string, but it was more for that big, like, for instance, and I'm not comparing him. I'm not comparing him to someone like a Scottie Pippen. All right. But Scottie Pippen wasn't someone that you saw throwing the ball behind his back crazy all the time, but you never saw Scottie get ripped. I'm not comparing to him. I'm really using an example of a larger forward that has skills where he can actually handle the ball. At this point, I didn't know. I knew he played some point guard. I didn't know he played as many years at point guard growing up in North Carolina in high school, or 3 years, I believe Arturas had mentioned. The shot, the mechanics were right. There wasn't a fear in the shot. Watching him get off the ground, I was like, oh, okay, I see it. Sitting there looking at the little stutter step in between. Now, again, there's a biasness because I want there to be some success. So I'd be lying to say that. But initially, I wasn't with it. But when I watched a lot of video, I was like, okay, I compared him because to me, it was him. And correct me when I get this name wrong. Deni Avdija. Did I say that right? Deni Avdija. Okay, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm about to be talking about, yeah.
But to me, I viewed it as really a race between the two of them. And I started to come around more on the Deni side when I watched more tape on him, because you can see he has a natural feel for the game. And I guess I really want to know what you think about him, since you were someone that wanted Luka when he was coming out. I remember you like get Luka, and I was like, I don't know about young wannabe Mano. All right, but you were definitely right. You're definitely right. But watching it made me feel better comparing those two players, because the ceiling is higher on Patrick Williams because of his athleticism. You know what I'm saying? Where you pretty much know what you're going to get from Deni. And like I said with the guys last night, I do think for a season or two, Denny's probably going to look better than Patrick Williams. But I think in the long run, and if they develop how we felt like, because that was the reason why we wanted this team to come here and do the Denver thing over here, if they develop him, he should necessarily be fine. So let me ask you about the Deni part. How did you feel when Deni was the pick, and after they picked Patrick Williams, would you have still preferred for them to have picked Deni Avdija from Israel?
That is a tough question, and to put context on the Luka versus Deni thing, like I just did kind of like the math with Luka, and in terms of how old he was, and he was dominating the second best league in the world after the NBA, at 17 and 18, and it wasn't even close. And in a league where I wasn't all in on Ayton, and I was definitely out on Bagley, I was like, there shouldn't be another reason why you should want to take another player outside of Luka, number one overall, just because he's dominating the second best league. It's a better league than college basketball. So when I looked at Deni and people were throwing those comparisons out there, in terms of with Luka, obviously Deni is a little bit bigger, more forward than point guard type. I just didn't see that part, like that dominating, overwhelming force in the league that he was playing in. And it certainly wasn't, the best league or the second best league in the world like Luka was playing. So I didn't want to put that on him. The skill level is definitely a lot better than Patrick at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that we hope that AK can do in terms of the type of development that we saw, in Denver, he's probably thinking, you just give me an athletic piece, I can teach, or we can teach him in this environment how to become a skilled player. So in terms of maximizing that athleticism, that already elite athleticism that Patrick Williams has, AK is basically saying with this pick, we're going to have an elite breeding ground here where we're going to, develop at a clip where the athleticism that he already has is going to be the secondary part. We're going to teach him how to play basketball here, and he's going to grow. And that room, that athletic space that you get, that growth, that instant amount of growth of space that you do get by being an athlete and then learning how to play basketball, that's what he's banking on. So when you look at the film between Deni and Patrick, like I said before, Deni's you're right, Ken, like I 100% agree with you. Fans don't get worried in the first 2 years because Deni has played professional basketball, for longer than Patrick Williams. Like that's what it is. They come in, those guys, the foreign guys always now typically come in more mature and more ready to play professional basketball if their bodies are ready for it. So he certainly has the body ready to come in and play and contribute to a team. But you got to look at, once you start seeing the positions that the Bulls are going to have Patrick in, he's going to get some playing time. He's going to get a lot of playing time. So don't bet on, a lot of Otto Porter, a lot of Chandler Hutchison like we've had in the past. Patrick's going to get his opportunities, and they're going to try and do some things with him. I'm very interested to see what Billy Donovan has, in store for him. I mean, we saw the growth. Obviously, having Chris Paul in OKC helped with the growth of the young players there. But we saw young players grow and mature under Billy Donovan. So I'm very interested to see what they can breed here with Patrick.